Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NBA DFS Stars and Scrubs show for Tuesday, February 9th, 2021. Today, we are on, obviously, the Burd channel here. Tomorrow, we will be back on Sal Vetri's YouTube channel, and then Thursday and Friday, once again here with Stars and Scrubs. My name is Burd here once again on the Burd podcast. Now, what we got here is a live stream of Stars and Scrubs, the first time that I am going live to do the NBA DFS show. Now, first, before we get into the picks, the Stars and the Scrubs for today, we got 4 Stars, 3 Scrubs on today's big 7-game Tuesday slate, something you don't normally see in the NBA. Usually it's down to like 4 games these days or even 5 games. But first, wanted to let you know about Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports app. So that's basically a fantasy sports app for player props. So if you're watching this channel, I know you watch some of my player prop videos. You can check out my Patreon for my player prop podcast today. If you love player props, be sure to check out Thrive Fantasy. It is a daily fantasy sports app for player props. You get presented 10 options. You got to pick 5 of them to put in your lineup. Each prop is given a point total based on how risky it is, and the most points at the end of the night wins a cash prize. If you sign up today using the promo code BURD, B-U-R-D, you receive an instant match bonus up to $50 with a deposit of $20 or more. Be sure to check it out at Thrive Fantasy via the App Store or Play Store or thrivefantasy.com. So let's get right to it here, and let's talk about the first star that we have on the night, and that is Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers against the Sacramento Kings, priced at $10,500 on this slate. So Embiid is right up there tonight, is right up there this season, I should say, with Jokic in terms of possible MVP candidates. The guy's just been absurd this year, like absolutely absurd this year. He's averaging 29.3 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, has a usage rate of 32.0% on the season. 99th percentile of all bigs is his usage rate, according to cleaningtheglass.com. He's averaging 35.3 real points over the last 8 games, averaging 51.7 DraftKings points per game on the season. And just look at his matchup here, the Sacramento Kings. They are probably the best matchup possible for centers. Definitely one of them. They rank 30th in the NBA, so dead last in opponent points in the paint per game at 52.2. They rank 28th in opponent points per game at 118.2. They rank 27th in DraftKings points against centers. I think Joel Embiid, priced at $10,500, could go for like a 35-15 game today, especially if it's close. I think he's going to put up probably 55 to 60 tonight against the Sacramento Kings. I mean, just a dream matchup for Joel Embiid, a must-have on the slate tonight. Now we are going to move here to just got to figure out how to switch the screen here. So yeah, first time I'm doing this live, so just bear with me here. Now we're going to move to our second play on the slate, our second star play on the slate, and that is going to be James Harden of the Brooklyn Nets, the combo guard. And James Harden, priced at $10,900 against the Detroit Pistons tonight, averaging 23.6 points per game on the season, 11.8 assists per game, 8.1 rebounds per game. Those numbers are with the Nets. 53.8 DraftKings points per game. That is, just for the total season. Rockets and Nets. Usage rate of 30.5% with the Nets this season. Now, Kevin Durant, he will be out tonight due to COVID protocols, out until I believe Friday. Has to have that 7-day quarantine, being that he came into contact with someone. That being said, James Harden has played 3 games already with the Nets where Kevin Durant has not been there. And in those games, he's gone for 19, 11, and 5. That was his first game without Kevin Durant. One of his first games with the Nets, 43.5 fantasy points. Then he went for 25, 11, and 10, 61.5 fantasy points, and 26, 10, and 8, 53 fantasy points. So last game, there was no last game was the 26, 10, and 8 game. That was against the 76ers. There was also no Kyrie in that game. Kyrie will be back tonight. He's probable, so I do assume that he will be back. And even with Kyrie back, I think James Harden's usage rate is still going to be sky high tonight without Kevin Durant. And yeah, I think his usage rate does go up a little bit from 30.5%. Now let's look at the Pistons, who are also a very ideal matchup for a guy like Harden. Pistons ranked 22nd in opponent points per game at 113.7, 21st in opponent rebounds per game at 45.9, 22nd in opponent assists per game at 25.4. They're also 18th in opponent threes made per game, 29th in opponent three-point percentage. Obviously, we know Harden's a guy that likes to shoot the three a lot. They're 24th in DraftKings points allowed to combo guards. Easy matchup, no Kevin Durant. Pretty high scoring game, over under currently at 229.5. James Harden's usage rate's going to go up, and that's why I like James Harden as my second star on the night next to Joel Embiid. Now we're going to move here to our third star of the night, and that is going to be Nikola Vucevic of the Orlando Magic. Let's get the screen up here. Nikola Vucevic against the Portland Trailblazers, priced at $8,900 on the slate tonight. Now, Nikola Vucevic is having a great season, 23.1 points per game, 11.4 rebounds per game, 3.4 assists per game, averaging 47.1 DraftKings points per game. Now, we know this is an all-star type season from Vucevic. He's also taking 19.4 shots per game, which is a lot, shooting 48.2% and taking 6.7 threes and shooting 42.3% on threes. This is for a big man like him to be shooting 42% from three. Pretty impressive. And you know my feeling. If you've been watching my videos, whether it be props, whether it be DFS videos, you know my feeling on Enes Kanter on the Portland Trailblazers, who Nikola Vucevic will be matching up with tonight. Kanter cannot play defense at all. Portland as a team cannot really play defense at all. Now, the Blazers do rank second in opponent points to centers, in opponent DraftKings points, I should say, to centers. That I'm going to ignore that a little bit. I think that is a bit deceiving. First of all, Jusuf Nurkic, he played the first part of the season, then got hurt. So his numbers are in there a little bit. And this opponent points per game, I'll tell you why I think it's a little deceiving here. So Enes Kanter cannot play defense. Blazers ranked 27th in opponent points per game. They ranked 24th in opponent rebounds per game, 23rd in opponent assists per game, 25th, I should say, in opponent three-pointers made per game. They rank 17th in opponent points in the paint per game, and that number is just strictly going down. Their rank is going down. And if you sort by last three, they're amongst the bottom of the league in the last three games in terms of points in the paint allowed, and that's because Enes Kanter is playing defense. Enes Kanter cannot play defense. I think Vucevic goes off tonight and is my third star on the slate at $8,900. Now we are going to move to our fourth star play on the slate here. Let's get the screen switched. And we have from the Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell, combo guard, priced at $8,100 against the Boston Celtics tonight. So big news here. Mike Conley is out for tonight. He has, I believe, a hamstring injury. And yeah, last game Conley was out as well. Donovan Mitchell had 27 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds, taking 24 shots in that game. So basically what happens with Conley out, Mitchell moves right over to point guard, and that's the reason for these 11 assists and increased shot attempts as well. He just has the ball more in his hands. He had 56.5 fantasy points in that game, and it was a bad shooting night for him. He took 24 shots, only made 9 of them. With Conley out, his usage rate in that game up to 33.8%. 3% higher than what his normal total is on the season at 30.8%. His assist percentage for the game, 51.3. Pretty significant there. Yes, the Celtics are a tough matchup. They're a tough matchup for anyone. They rank 4th in terms of opponent DraftKings points to combo guards. Now, that being said, this pick strictly here, my last star pick of the day, this pick is based on opportunity, not completely based on matchup. I do believe he's just going to have the ball in his hands more. He's probably going to shoot more. He's probably going to get more assists than normal. And the one thing that's been holding Donovan Mitchell back from being a top tier fantasy player, and honestly, just a top tier player in the league at this point, is that he is a little inconsistent, but he scores a lot. He doesn't get a ton of assists. He doesn't get a ton of rebounds. That changes with Conley out of the lineup when he's put at point guard. So I think that based on the opportunity given to Donovan Mitchell in this game against the Boston Celtics, it'll be able to overcome that tough matchup. And I think he is a great play at $8,100 tonight on the slate. Now we are going to move into the scrubs on the slate tonight that I like. Normally, I have a little bit more scrubs that I do like. Now it is a smaller slate, not as many injuries tonight, so that's a reason for not a ton of scrubs I love, but one that I do want to talk about. We have Daniel Theis here of the Boston Celtics. A little bit of a complicated situation for him, but Daniel Theis against the Utah Jazz, priced at $4,800. And look, Jaylen Brown, questionable for tonight's game. If Jaylen Brown is out, then Daniel Theis becomes a much more appealing option. If Jaylen Brown plays, I still like Theis as a scrub play, but he would be a lot less appealing than if he was out, obviously, for Theis. But last game with Brown out, Theis got 34 minutes off the bench, had 12 points, I should say, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 25.5 fantasy points. That would hit the value for $4,800. Yes, Jaylen Brown may be back tonight, but even with Brown in the lineup, listen to so the way I want to. So if you're looking at the screen here, the last 5 games, you see obviously he had Phoenix, which is the game I just talked about. That's the last game. Then he had the Clippers. He only played 9 minutes in that game, had 2 fantasy points, and the reason why is because he got hurt. So I'm going to completely ignore that Clippers game in that last 5 there, and then look at the last 3 before that. He had 11-4-4, 25 fantasy points against the Kings, 8-11-1, 27.25 fantasy points against the Warriors, and then against the Lakers, he had 28.25 fantasy points as well. Now, if you look at those 3 games, he played 27 minutes, 28 minutes, and 34 minutes. So I think that even with Brown back in the lineup, Tice is still going to go in the upper 20s of minutes at minimum. If he go for 12 and 6 tonight with a 3-pointer or 2, that's not bad value at 4,800. I'll take my chances on a guy like Daniel Tice, who we've seen involved in the offense for years now, could get a ton of minutes in this game. I think there is the potential for 30 minutes in this game. If Brown plays, I will consider Tice less, but I still think it's a good option regardless. And now if he's out, obviously that's just a bonus. Now we're going to look at the next scrub play, the second scrub play that we have on the slate tonight. Sorry, just apologize for this. Takes a little bit to switch the screen here. It's unfortunate. We have Dwayne Bacon of the Orlando Magic, and I'll explain to you why Dwayne Bacon at $4,100. First of all, we discussed the Portland Trailblazers. We discussed the fact that they are a bad defense. Now, Evan Fournier will be out tonight with back spasms. Dwayne Bacon started last game in place of Fournier, played 31 minutes, having 22.75 DraftKings points. He did score 16 actual points, though. He took 14 shots on the game. Fournier is once again out in this game, as I just said. Bacon likely will start again, see about 30 minutes in this game. He's averaging 15 points per 36 minutes, shooting 35.7% from 3. So I think that there is a chance you get a little bit of an offensive outburst from him, especially against this bad Portland team. You have a guy here that's shooting a lot. As I mentioned, Portland kind of just ranks, bottom in all defensive categories. I'll bring that up once again. 27th in opponent points per game and 25th in opponent 3-pointers made per game. So I think that with Bacon getting extended minutes, with him starting in this game, I think that there is a potential for an offensive outburst for Dwayne Bacon, and that is why I like him as a scrub on tonight's slate. Now we are going to move to our last scrub play of the day, and this one is completely dependent on whether a guy that is usually in front of him plays, and that is rookie from Villanova on the Detroit Pistons, Sadiq Bay, the small forward, power forward at $3,400. So here's the deal here. Wayne Ellington has missed the last 2 games with a calf injury. He's questionable for tonight. Currently don't know if he's going to play, but Sadiq Bay has started in place of him the last 2 games, playing 26 minutes in nearly both. So nearly 26 minutes, I should say, in both. He had 13 points and 26.5 fantasy points in those 2 games. Now, the Nets defense, we spoke about it all year. The Nets defense is a disaster. They rank 29th in opponent points per game, 29th in opponent points in the paint per game, 17th in DraftKings points allowed to small forward, power forwards. I think that Sadiq Bay is a good cheap play if Ellington is out. Now let's just for those of you who are unsure of Sadiq Bay, obviously he's a rookie. Let me just tell you a little bit about his game. So, I mean, he could shoot the 3 really, really well, could get some points in the paint as well. He's a pretty big guy. So I think that between the blend of just a lot of points that are going to be scored in this game because the Nets can't play defense, he could hit a few threes, he could score down low. I think Sadiq Bay is a future pretty solid player in this league. And I think that if he gets the chance tonight with Ellington out with extended minutes, I think he's a nice play at 3,400. However, just keep in mind that if Ellington does end up playing, then there's no reason to play Bay at all, but decided I would list him here because it does seem like Ellington will probably be out tonight. So just keep an eye on that one. And if Ellington is out, certainly look to get Sadiq Bay in your lineup. So we're going to open it up now. Do we have any questions here? So we have one question, and I apologize for not answering them earlier. Just was getting through all that first, but Jakob Poeltl tonight with no Aldridge again. Yeah, so Poeltl's been pretty good. The Spurs, let me just take a look here. I want to get, his specific game logs up right now. One sec. So Poeltl plays Golden State. 6.1 points per game, 6.7 rebounds per game. Last game against Golden State last night had 36.8 points, 14 points, 11 boards, 4 blocks. I think Poeltl could be a pretty good option. The problem is that he is priced at 6,000, which is a bit much to pay for a guy who's, I mean, he's a decent center. He's nothing special. I don't think, I think that, again, I think your ceiling with him is probably around 14 and 11. I don't think you get much better than that. Played 30 minutes last night. I certainly don't mind it. Is Cousins too expensive now? Yeah, DeMarcus Cousins is too expensive now. I believe he's priced, 7,400 tonight. Plays a good Pelicans team, a good Pelicans team in terms of guarding the paint. Obviously, you got Zion there. You got Steven Adams there. I'm not huge on Cousins tonight at all, especially at this price. Any other questions we got? Throw them in the chat, and I will be sure to answer them. Bless me with your favorite player prop tonight, bro. Thanks, and keep up the good work. Thank you. But just letting everyone know that the player props tonight are on Patreon on a podcast. So be sure to check that out. It is in the link in the description below. But tomorrow I will be back once again, probably with a live player prop show. So again, I would love to give out my player props, but it is unfair to the people that are paying for the Patreon per month. So tomorrow, live player prop show in the afternoon after I have my morning Stars and Scrubs show. But that being said, be sure to ask any questions here if you have in terms of DFS. I'll be around to answer them for a few more minutes. Any other questions we got here? We got some people in here live. Thank you to everyone who has watched so far. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so back to talking about stars here. I think that with Durant out, I think Kyrie's another good option tonight. Now, I know I picked Harden as my star play, but I mean, Kyrie's been he's been unbelievable this year. Would you expect anything less in a fast-paced, Steve Nash offense where the point guard, obviously is going to go off the Mike D'Antoni type offense as well? Mike D'Antoni is the assistant coach there. You wouldn't expect anything less from Kyrie, averaging 27 actual points per game, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. I mean, I think he's a good play. Well, at 9,300, we're going to look. But I'm really huge on Embiid tonight. Embiid is my number one play for sure. I think he has to be in lineups. I mean, this could be truly like a 40 point game from him. Any other questions we have? Draymond's another good play. He'll be played a lot. Obviously, that's a mid-range option, so I didn't talk about it. Sticking with stars and scrubs, so guys who are above $8,000, guys who are below $5,000. But yeah, Draymond Green, $6,900. Last few games, he's playing that small ball 5 with no Kevin Looney, no James Wiseman. Last few games in terms of DFS, 40, 50, 42. So he's been going off, been like old Draymond, 15 assists, 10 assists, 15 assists, 10 rebounds, 6 rebounds, just completely stuffing the stat sheet. So that's another good option there. Any other questions? All right. We are going to wrap up the stream for today. Thank you to everybody who watched live on this NBA DFS Stars and Scrubs show. Wanted to test out how this whole live situation was going to go. Going to try to get back to pre-recorded videos for Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow, we'll have the pre-recorded video up on Sal's channel in the afternoon, so be sure to check that out. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @sports_Burd. Follow me on Instagram at @sports_Burd. Check out my Patreon if you are into my NBA player props. I have podcasts there for NBA player props tonight, Thursday. Be sure to check that out as well. Thank you to everyone who watched this, and good luck with your DFS lineups tonight.